Welcome back to another episode of It's in the Details. As always, please remember to share, like, subscribe, rate, review, comment if you like the show. We've got two interesting episodes coming up. I sat down, talked with one of my good friends that you've seen before, Steph. We conducted a Korean Drama Extravaganza. Okay? That's how we got down. So if you are new to Korean dramas, if you have already been into the Korean dramas, these next 2 weeks are for you. Okay? I hope those of you that are getting interested in them listened to what I said the past couple weeks. I hope you watch Vincenzo because you're getting some Vincenzo time. An hour and a bit maybe of Vincenzo talk and Korean drama talk coming at you in this first episode. Next week, we digging in Squid Game, okay? We're getting into Squid Game next week. So back-to-back episodes, me and my buddy Steph digging into those Korean dramas. So right now, Vincenzo, a little tiny bit of Itaewon Class, a little tiny bit of Crash Landing on You, but mainly Vincenzo and the things surrounding Korean dramas. I hope you enjoy it. Say welcome back to the show. So happy to have you on It's in the Details again, Chung.
Thank you for having me.
This is the NPR version of my show where we talk in hushed tones and get very close to the microphone.
That is correct.
Okay, we're idiots. Okay, but for real, happy to have you back.
Thanks.
There are so many things I've been watching that I want to talk to you about. You're responsible for me watching some of the things we're going to talk about today. And today, we're going to have an extravaganza of Korean dramas.
Excellent. I can't wait.
So the first thing I want to ask you, which we haven't talked about yet, is how did you get into Korean dramas? Do you even remember? Was it a person? Was it an ad? Did you just start looking at different things on Netflix or other streaming apps?
So when I was younger, I did watch a lot of like Korean dramas, like with my dad.
Okay.
So like.
So this is decades. You've been watching Korean dramas for decades.
I think they were on like DVDs or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like somehow like they managed to come to the house and like we're just like popping them into the DVD player. And then more so recently, I watched Itaewon Class after your friend recommended it on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I checked that out. It was a good show. I liked it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I'm going to watch another one. And then another one. And then another one. And here we are.
Yeah.
Like 5 like Korean dramas later.
Yeah.
We're on the show.
So have you been stacking them one after another, or have you gone Korean drama, regular English TV, or is it just like Korean drama, Korean drama, Korean drama?
It was like there was like a phase where everything was just Korean, like in this household.
Yes.
Like Korean drama, Korean dinner, Korean fried chicken. It was like nonstop, man. It was great. Right. It was such a good time. It was like, lockdown number 2 in like Toronto.
Yes. So it was many years ago with your dad, and then there was a lull, like a big lull, and then back in with Itaewon Class?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you're back into them, and they're fantastic. So this is a bit of an obvious question, but what keeps you coming back? What is it about them that you're like, this is what I'm watching instead of what Leonardo DiCaprio just did or whatever?
They make me cry.
Okay.
Like all the time.
Okay.
The characters are very like good looking and very beautiful.
All of them.
It's good. Yeah, all of them.
Men and women. They're all beautiful.
Everyone looks so good. They look great in everything that they're wearing. Like the storylines are different. Mm-hmm. Like I honestly think like the writing is a bit elite.
Right.
and it's like different. Like it's different, I guess, from everything else that we've been watching. And it's like they're not. No two dramas are like the same, which is kind of nice.
I agree and disagree, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
There's nuance in that, I think.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm not a big crier. I'm not opposed to crying myself, but I'm just not a big crier. But in watching them, I'm like, oh, we're supposed to be crying right now. I get that in other households today, watching this show, people are crying right now. And
Yes.
that happens a lot.
Yes.
The thing about them for me is the romance is so romantic. Like the sadness is so sad. The funny is hilarious. Like they're all of the things all at once.
Yeah, it's like a nice ride, like a fun
Yeah,
ride
all the time.
with a bit of everything.
Yeah. The thing about them being drastically different from one another is, yes, the storylines are different, at least in the ones that I'm watching, but there are some very like similar things that I found with like there's always, or in the ones I've watched, there seemed to always be like this silent, strong male lead character where he's like that token, like tall, dark, handsome. I mean, aside from Vincenzo's not really dark, but you know what I mean? Where it's like they only say what they have to say. You know, we're not giving away too much. Like Itaewon Class, their lead is that guy.
Yeah.
Quiet, strong. I'm a leader. Vincenzo, same vibe.
Yeah.
Parasite. Have you seen Parasite?
Ooh, I haven't seen Parasite.
Okay. Parasite, the movie Parasite from
same thing.
No, that one's different. The main leads in that show aren't really that, or that movie aren't really that, but there is a character in there where he's that same type of guy, but it's not his thing. But they play up some serious drama. The one thing that I do find also that's very similar, and especially in the ones I've seen, is they give you this older character, this older gentleman, right? Mm-hmm. And they force you to love this guy.
Mm-hmm.
They force you to love him. That character is always lovable.
Yeah.
And then they
kill him.
They take him away from you.
It reminds me of like Game of Thrones.
Hold on. Remember that thought. Before I go on, people, I'm sure I said it in the intro. This is spoiler heavy. This is going to be spoiler heavy. So if you haven't seen Vincenzo, if you haven't seen Squid Game, haven't seen Itaewon Class, there might be some spoilers. There's going to be some spoilers, but go on. It's like Game of Thrones,
where everyone loves Ned.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah. Dead Ned. Yeah. That's what happens.
Dead.
Yeah.
I know. And it's early too.
They don't mess around.
No.
They startle you. They let you know, as I'm sure people have heard me say before, you don't know what to expect. Don't make any assumptions about what you're watching. We're going to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to talk to people about snacks. Do you snack differently when you're watching Korean stuff? I know you said earlier, sometimes it goes Korean shows, then Korean dinners.
I feel like I snack relatively the same.
Same.
Just like I can like have more chips because like I can read the subtitles.
True.
Instead of like turn up the volume and hide my.
This is very true.
We ordered a lot of Korean food while I was on this. I want to say like Korean binge. Mm-hmm. It was nice. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of kimchi in the fridge now.
Binging Korean food and dramas all at the same time.
Yeah. It was good. But no, like snacks are relatively, the same.
Yeah.
Same in this household. How about you?
Yeah, that's partially why I ask, because you and I have been known to visit an Asian grocery store together once in a while. And when I got deep into Vincenzo, I looked up and I noticed everything surrounding me. Drinks, salty snacks, sweet snacks, they were all Asian. and, and I was like, oh cool, I'm from Asia now. I live in Asia.
So yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but like I think all these shows are produced by Netflix, right? Netflix is one of the partners with the other production company. And I find that they like to advertise like Korea, which is great. So like in Vincenzo, I noticed that they had a lot of different drinks that were showing up in the characters.
Yeah.
It's just like really good product placement.
Yeah.
And like Itaewon Class had a lot of like Korean dishes that they were like bringing out.
Yeah.
So I just found that was like kind of neat, which probably like it worked. It worked on me. Like I'm like ordering Korean dinners. I'm going to get like Korean fried chicken.
Yes.
Trying to drink Korean beer.
It's so hilarious you bring this up, because that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. Vincenzo, more than any of the others I've seen, they don't even hide their product placement and like straight up commercials.
That is correct.
They did, it's a 20 episode show. They did at least 5 stick coffee commercials. I think the company is like Maxim or something like that. And you could tell when they're getting ready to do it. Like someone asks for coffee, and then there's like a whole preamble about coffee, and then they go over and they make you watch them make this instant coffee. And it's like 5 or 6 times, and then they start drinking it and they start talking about how I never would have imagined I like instant coffee, but this is my favorite coffee now. And I'm like,
yeah,
hey guys,
it goes against his character. He says Americanos are sewage water.
Yes, but stick coffee is not an Americano.
Apparently no.
Right? Yeah. It's so amazing to me. The other product placement too, I wanted to ask you about before we really get into it, is
I hope you're asking me what I think you're gonna ask me.
The Cadillacs?
It was on my notes. The Cadillacs. Do you want to buy a Cadillac, sir?
Well, I personally, those are some high-end looking Cadillacs, right? I've never been a Cadillac person. I don't know that I would want to buy a Cadillac based on this show, but I wanted to know if you had any idea, is Cadillac actually huge in Korea? Do you know anybody we can ask and give a tip to the people later? What's going on? Because they didn't go Audi.
I don't know why it's a Cadillac.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's a Cadillac. Like, why isn't it like a Hyundai? Like, or like a Genesis? Or is that something that they use like long time? Like, I'm gonna have to like look up some other Korean dramas and see if they were using like a Korean brand. Or is it because Netflix is like, oh, you need to use an American brand, and here we go.
But why? But why? And why?
Is it like mobster?
I don't know. I'm so curious about it, because like there are companies I can imagine the Korean people not wanting to use. Also in Asia, like there are other car companies I see why you guys aren't using this company. I get it, right? Yeah. I could even imagine why not some of the European brands. But like it's married to Cadillac and it stands out because they force it down your throat. Yeah.
But in the beginning of Vincenzo, he did light was it a Ferrari on fire? He lit something on fire that wasn't a Cadillac.
I don't even remember this, but they blew up a supercar?
Yes, they blew up a supercar. I don't remember if it was a Ferrari.
Oh, his brother. Yes. Yeah.
I think it was a Ferrari. Like if
Ferrari or Lambo, one or the other. Yeah.
If it's in Italy, it's it's most likely a Ferrari.
Yes,
I would
yes,
say.
yes, yes, yes.
It would
yes.
make
You're
sense
right.
if it was a Ferrari,
You're right.
but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, they did blow up that Ferrari. But everybody else drives Cadillacs. All the lawyers, everybody we see, they're driving all the rich people are driving Cadillacs.
Their drivers are driving the Cadillac.
Or they're being driven in Cadillacs. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny how he pulled out a golf club to beat his Cadillac.
Well, there were a lot of wait, why did you find that specifically funny?
Because I was like, oh, like maybe I mean, I could see like Koreans really liking golf, so there would always be like a golf bag.
Yes.
And then decide. Okay, and then my next question is like, which golf club would you feel comfortable beating your Cadillac with?
Well, if you were going to destroy a vehicle, if you decided I'm going to destroy this vehicle, money doesn't matter.
That is correct.
Right? So it probably wouldn't be driver. I think the driver would be too flimsy.
Yeah.
But I don't want anything too long. Maybe like a 5-iron. 5-6 iron. I feel like I could really give it to a windshield or some tail lights. Yeah, I could really mash them up.
Yeah.
With a 5
I would just choose a 6-iron because I hate my 6-iron, but
these are problems for another show.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into Vincenzo.
All right.
Okay. I loved Itaewon Class. Itaewon Class was my first Korean drama. If I had to put a rating on it or something, I'd be like, it's like a 9, right?
Ooh.
If I had to put a rating on Vincenzo, 9.5.
I would put Vincenzo on top of that.
Yeah.
I think Vincenzo might be one of my favorite out of all the ones that I've watched so far.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd be inclined to agree with you. Okay, so we'll just set it up. Mr. Vincenzo Casano is Korean born, given up for adoption, ends up in Italy. His adoptive, I guess you would call it, they never really, but let's call it his adoptive father, is an Italian mafia boss. Vincenzo somehow, through time, makes it up the ladder. He becomes his consigliere, and then some things happen in Italy. He moves to Korea to go chase down a bunch of gold, just a gang of gold, and we kind of start the story from there. For me, the beginning of this show starts out letting us know he is not someone to be trifled with. He is
that is correct.
He is a legit gangster. Okay,
he is a problem.
he is the problem. He's not a problem, he is the problem, right?
Yes.
So they start out, he's dealing with a rival mob family boss.
Yeah.
And this is not a spoiler, even though you're gonna see it when you watch it. He torches this whole man's vineyard. The man does not say what he wanted to hear. And he torched the whole
burnt
vineyard.
Raisins.
Oh my.
Burnt raisins.
Yeah, he torched a lot of wine grapes. We also find out that him and his brother don't get along. As you've said earlier, he blew up his brother's Ferrari. Okay. Yeah. He moves to Korea. He's still in Italy. And some henchmen are sent to his room, and he deals with all those henchmen. None of them get to him. He deals with them all. You find out this guy is not to be fooled with, right?
Yep, and that's in the first 20 minutes of the show.
First 20 minutes. Gets to Korea. We find out he is essentially the owner of this plaza, this tower building with a bunch of shops and very interesting shop owners that we go on to meet and love. But immediately, so we've got crazy violence, more violence than you'd expect.
Yep.
Then he gets to this tower, and it's already starting to become hilarious.
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
each individual store owner
Yeah.
is nuts, just
Yep.
bonkers. They're all bonkers. The
Yep.
introductions we get for each one of these people, and there's a lot of them. There's like what, 8-10 people that we meet.
Yeah, it's like the clan.
Yeah.
The mall clan.
Yeah. And they've been together for a while, it seems. So they're all kind of family. Like they all seem to take care of each other and look after one another.
Yeah, it's kind of wholesome.
Yeah, it's pretty wholesome. But they're skeptical of the new owner. So they've got no love for Vincenzo or the man.
As they should be.
They probably should be. You're right. If they knew he was just blowing people up and torching vineyards 48 hours ago, they should be skeptical. That's true.
Yeah. Exactly.
But like I said, the show is more romantic than you can imagine, more funny than you can imagine, and more gruesome. And that goes across the whole series, and sometimes is inside of each episode where you're like crying, laughing, uncomfortable. They give you jump scares. It's just all of the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you about before we get into the nitty-gritty of the show is, were you moved, like I was moved, by the music and sound effects throughout the series? Did you even notice them?
I did. Yeah. So I think that's where like some of the Korean dramas are different, where some of them have like 3 or 4 tracks that they play.
Right.
This one, like there were no like they were just like music tracks, right? Like they're not people singing or whatever,
Yeah.
which is like kind of nice. But it's good. Like I really liked it. It was very like Italian-esque and
At
like
times,
Korean
yeah.
at times.
Yeah.
But I think it like set up the mood very well
Mm-hmm.
for the show. It makes you ready, and like you kind of, I don't want to say you kind of know what's gonna happen, but like, you know, it just sets the table up really nicely for what's going to happen.
Yeah. It almost feels like, to a certain degree, some characters have their own theme music.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you pay attention, and even like as the show progresses, I think part of the reason why the show is so great is it feels like so many people are playing multiple characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like their growth in the show makes them such different people from beginning of the show to the end of the show. So even within certain people, you'll get one specific type of music for them towards the first 5-10 episodes, and in the last 5-10 episodes they're getting some completely different music, right? And the sound effects, like I think this might be Korean drama specific, but I can't recall like English shows or other shows that I've watched where they use sound effects to hit punchlines. Like someone will tell a joke and they'll like wink and gun at somebody, and you'll hear like a wink and gun sound that makes perfect sense for when they hit it. The show's great. It's so good.
Yeah, I like it. It's like light. It's like light to some degree, but also like kind of serious.
Yeah.
Which is like a nice balance
yeah.
between like what's going on.
Yeah. So I mentioned that we've got characters who grow and change. You've got the two chairmen, essentially. There's a big conglomerate called Babel. They're running everything. They're doing everything. They're taking people out when things aren't going the way they need to. They're buying people off.
Yeah.
They're doing all sorts of stuff.
Money ain't a thing. I noticed that it's a similar theme across like Korean dramas. The rich, it's like money ain't a thing.
Yeah. Get as much as you can, and then pay people off murder people, eliminate
Blow shit up.
people, blow stuff up, do whatever you have to do. If you earn that money or stole that money or did whatever you did to get that money, now use it to keep it and get more of it. Sounds familiar. Sounds like a little North American, doesn't it? Sounds like this is a worldwide thing that people are doing, right?
Yeah.
But we've got these two brothers that are running this company. We've got one brother that is the face of the company, at least to start out. And we've got the other brother that is the brains of the company and wants people to believe that first brother is running the show when he clearly isn't. What do you think about the brother who was actually running the show? Because he's a very interesting character because he's planted himself inside of the law firm that is doing all of the law business for the company. He so drastically changes as the show develops. Like, what do you think about him in general?
He's a scary character, man. He is scary.
That sums it up perfectly.
So I like rewatched it just to like try to figure out like when he did his like coming out.
Yes. Did you find it? Because I didn't get to that point.
Episode 4, which I thought was like really early.
Feels early.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, like now I was curious. I'm like, oh, how come they revealed him so early?
Hold on. Did he come out? Was it episode 4? He came out to us, the viewers? Like that's when they let us know who he was?
Yeah, it was the end of episode 4 where they blew up the factory.
Yes.
And he shows up, gets out of the car, and he's like basically watching his company burn down in flames.
Right.
And he's revealed to the audience that he is the actual chairman.
Yeah.
And like my thing about that is like, oh, it's kind of early. Like I could have just been like, oh, like is stepbrother still like the real chairman?
Yeah.
But I guess it's like it makes it so you know something that the main characters don't know.
Yeah.
And then it makes you worry for them.
Yes.
Because you're like, oh my gosh, like the Hong daughter has been around this guy the whole time.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yes.
Oh no.
Yes. And when you're rewatching it, because 20 episodes and these aren't like hour-long episodes. These are like an hour and a half episodes. Right? Like 20 episodes is a long time. So once you get to the end, you forget a lot of the shit that happened at the beginning. And in those first 3 episodes, all sorts of wild shit happens. And he's there. The actual chairman is there with her, comforting her and helping her through things. And it's like, hey, dude, you did it. Like, it's like the stuff she's sad about is because of you.
Yeah.
And he's just there double agenting, trying to catch a date, trying to date her too. Yeah. Anyway, I cut you off. Sorry.
He's a scary dude.
He's a scary dude. Zero remorse. Just moving through life, moving people around like chess pieces. And they do let you know, like he reveals to us in episode 4, but I believe it's the first episode where we know the guy who is saying he's the chairman is not the chairman. Like he's receiving orders on the phone. Yeah. They're keeping him hidden. There's even one scene, episode 2 or 3, something bad happens, and the chairman's upset. Rink? Yes.
The hockey rink.
The chairman is upset. We still don't know who he is. The real chairman's upset. His brother is standing in the middle of a hockey rink in a suit. He's on the ice in a suit, okay? Looking petrified. And there's some dude in full hockey stuff, full hockey gear, helmet and everything. We can't see. The hockey rink has one light on. Like the exit light is shining on the ice. The rest of the rink is pitch black. Okay. And my man is standing in the middle of the rink with 20 pucks 10 feet away from him. And the secret chairman rolls up on him and starts blasting slap shots in his belly. What?
Wild. So
we know someone's pulling the strings. We don't know who it is.
And we also know that hockey is very dangerous.
Apparently hockey's dangerous. So that's the other thing too. You asked earlier, which club would you use to bash in a Cadillac? There were all sorts of sports equipment available at the discretion of the chairman. He's blasted people with hockey sticks. He's beaten up cars with golf clubs. He's a very athletic individual.
There's probably a bat in there somewhere too.
Yeah, there's definitely. We must have missed a bat. The other thing is, okay, so the chairman, the actual chairman, what's his name? They call him Chairman Jang.
Chairman Jang.
Right?
Yeah.
How beautiful is this man?
He's got very nice hair.
The hair is beautiful. The hair is beautiful.
Yeah. Hair is beautiful. But his suits are pretty nice. Not as nice as Vincenzo.
No, not as nice as Vincenzo, but they're built
surprisingly.
They're built very differently, right? And they do a very interesting thing with him while he's at the law firm. Mm-hmm. He has been educated to some degree in the States, right? So while he's playing up this character of I'm just some law intern, there's a lot of this. There's a lot of he's very light, easygoing.
Yes, boss.
Yes, boss. The other thing about the yes bosses is he speaks a lot of English. Anytime someone's rattled around him, he goes and he's in the law firm or he's doing law firm work. He always slips into this English and it's perfect. And it's so light and bubbly and teeny bopper. Yeah. And once you find out who this guy actually is, it's even more spooky that he was that character first and evolves into this other guy. Oh, it's really something. I
think they wrote his character really well.
It's
amazing.
Is there a character in the show? I agree. First of all, I agree. Is there a character in the show that you thought could have been written better? For me, they're all amazing.
They're all really good. Even the former prosecutor.
Yeah, the lady, yes.
I hated her.
Miss Choi. You're supposed to.
But her character from the start to the end, just got more and more evil.
Yeah.
But also had these humanly aspects about her, how she goes to the gym and does the dance,
her balance, that's what keeps her balanced. Yeah
her I don't even know what those things are called, those exercise workouts that Zumba
kind of stuff.
I thought she was a really good character that they wrote, and Vincenzo and Mrs. Hong was lovely. So, it's good. But I think his character, the Chairman Jang, the real Chairman Jang, was he had probably the most layers to his character.
Yes. Because he's very worldly. He's like Vincenzo. They're the two rivals. Vincenzo's been to Italy, and given his work, you would assume he's traveled the world. And the same with the chairman. You would assume he's traveled the world. He's seen everything. So they're very well-rounded. But Chairman Jang, it's just heartless. Just unapologetic. Doesn't care, loves to beat up on his brother. It's a very weird, complex character. Just to put a pin in that for a second, I wanted to ask you about a specific relationship. Okay. When Vincenzo gets to the Gemga Plaza, right? Mm-hmm. And he meets everybody. He meets Toto, Chef Toto. Of Italian restaurant, right? And there are a lot of relationships in the show, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite is Vincenzo versus Toto, okay?
It was
Because
so good.
Chef Toto opened an Italian restaurant in Korea, and
Yes.
he's convinced the people of Gemga Plaza that he's been to Italy. He learned under Italian chefs, and here are my treats that I bring you from my my lessons from Italian chefs. And Vincenzo comes in and he goes, "Oh my, I'm ecstatic you're here. I'm starving. Cook me some food." Okay? The first time he makes some food for Vincenzo, Vincenzo promptly puts some of that food in, puts a napkin to his face, and spits the food into the napkin and says, "This food tastes like a mixture of garbage and mediocrity. But on the upside, no cockroaches." And they do this for the whole series.
Yeah. Which is the best.
It's the best. It's the best. Because
until there was one episode where he cooked his mom's food and Vincenzo was like, this.
Yes. Eventually they get there.
Yeah.
They get there. But there's a long period of time where Vincenzo's like, "This is trash. You've never been to Italy." He sets him up in the first episode too. He names a place. The guy doesn't know what the place is. He's like, yeah, that's where I'm from, or that's where I was. It's so good. So many great relationships.
Yeah. I love it.
The other thing I love about this show, and I'll see if you feel the same, is the acting. We here, North America, we've gone through these phases where at some point when you started really, now we call it overacting, where you're really big and you're talking loud and you're moving your arms and you're doing all these things and big reactions to people and all sorts of stuff. We call that overacting. We don't want that anymore. Now we want subtlety. We want intricacy in your interactions, right? Korean dramas, no. Big as possible. As big as possible. And I know some people like to watch Korean stuff or foreign films and things like that dubbed. They'd prefer not to read the subtitles. I'm a subtitles person myself.
They need to grow up.
Maybe. I try not to be too judgy. I would prefer as authentic an experience as you can get, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'll read the subtitles. I know the translation isn't spot on, but the dub is the same as the sub. They're giving you the same words, right? So at least if you read the subtitles, you can hear the Korean.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I'm here for the Korean experience.
Exactly. So you get all of the tonation in their voice, the way they modulate their voices on these lines, amazing. But also you have to watch these people's faces. You have to, because they are serving all the time, man.
Yeah, this is not a show where you're like texting and watching. No. This is a show where it requires your full attention.
Yeah.
And like, this show deserves your full attention because it's so good.
Yes.
Like, I think like that's part of like why some people watch it dubbed, because I think like part of it is because like they have to like do whatever they need to do on the side, and like
probably
this just plays on. And like I do find it sometimes hard, like when I'm eating and like trying to watch, like I have to go back because like say like I missed something, but I'm okay with that.
Same. I'm rewinding all the time because sometimes the subtitles come up fast anyway, so it's like I gotta go back. But the acting is so good on this show. They're so expressive that and I think I told you this while I was watching it. There were times where 2, 3, 4 minutes go by and I catch myself and I'm like, I have not been reading any subtitles. Apparently, I understand Korean because I've just been watching the show with a stupid smile on my face for the last 5 minutes, man. What is going on? Like,
it's kind of captivating, I would say.
Yes. There's another character specific. There's a couple, but there's another character specifically that the acting gets me. Mr. An. I don't know if you remember who Mr. An is, but Mr. An is the detective. Okay.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So we've got a detective in this show who works.
He's undercover.
Well, hold on. He does get undercover, but
yeah,
he finds out he works for organized crime in Korea. Mm-hmm. He gets a red flag, that Vincenzo Casano, Italian mob boss, has entered Korea, right? Mm-hmm. And he wants to apprehend Mr. Casano. So he takes it to his boss, who is also crazy and super expressive, right?
Yeah.
Takes it to his boss and goes, listen, this guy's in town. What is he doing here? We're becoming an upcoming country for mobsters to come into and do business and blah, blah, blah. His boss says, leave it alone. He's here on vacation. He's probably a tourist. Leave him alone, right? He's like, why would he bring any money here? What are you talking about? So this guy stops working. He stops doing his real job to fund himself being undercover at Gemga Plaza so he could keep track of Vincenzo.
Yeah.
He's a lunatic.
That's just what you do.
Oh, this is obvious, right? So he becomes an apprentice with Chef Toto, which is fantastic. It's so crazy.
Good.
But
so good.
Now he's on the inside watching Vincenzo.
Yeah.
And it's just nuts. Like watching him move around the building undercover, watching him interact with people, like the other people that work and live at Gemga Plaza. It was just, did you love him as much as I did?
I did like his character. He was like that like good guy who's trying to, and he like kind of falls in love with Vincenzo. Like the more he gets to know him, he like admires him.
Yes.
Like he's like, oh, he's such a nice dude. He's a Catholic Buddhist. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I liked this character. And he was like one of those characters that like bring in like another layer of like authority in later. So it's like kind of nice. Like it's like a multitude of characters inside this one plaza.
Yeah. So you bring up that he eventually falls in love with him and respects him. Yeah. And that's all of the characters in the plaza. Like they all fall in love with this guy.
Yeah.
And just can't believe how good a guy he is. They can't believe how much he gets done. They can't believe that they're in the presence of a corn salad.
Corn salad.
Which you've got some language barriers where they turn conciliary into corn salad. Right? So they just love everything about him. You've even got a rival mob guy, like a low-level mob guy is tasked with tearing down this building where the gold is for Babel, so they could, because they think they've bought this place, they want to build Babel Tower, and this low-level mob guy comes in and finds out how low-level he is compared to Vincenzo. Vincenzo handles him. He ends up getting kicked out of his mob essentially, and they buy a space in the tower. They do business. He begins to love Vincenzo as well. Yeah.
And he's part of like this whole happy family.
Exactly. He becomes part of the whole happy family. But that initial interaction with him and Vincenzo, where his gangsters come in and they're like going to take over, And Vincenzo dispatches with one of his mob guys real quick, and he goes, that was very efficient. How you beat that guy up. I respect it. And then he gets hung from the tower afterwards.
Yeah.
It's so much good stuff. So much good stuff. The other thing I was curious about, that I wanted to hear from you, is what you thought about the fact that all of those people in the tower can fight.
Yeah, they're like multi-layer people who have. It's kind of nice. Like everyone has like a secret from each other, I guess.
Yes. Keep going.
Everyone
talking.
just has different secrets. Like the girl has like the computer skill. I forgot her name. She's the one who created the
safe.
The program, the safe.
Yeah. She's the piano instructor.
Yeah. And then the seamstress, dry cleaner guy. That dude.
Ex-gangster. Slinging them scissors.
Yeah. Just like, and like he didn't even show it off until like later into the show.
Yep.
Which was kind of crazy.
Yep.
And then the pawn shop owner, another guy.
Husband wife
that can fight.
Both of them though.
Yeah.
They're like superheroes. Like they've got like superhuman strength.
Yeah. And it's like, whoa, like why didn't you guys show up to beat up the gangsters earlier? The low level gangsters.
Yeah.
But I thought that was like super cute that like everyone had this like secret, and then they just like glowed up as like the show went on.
Yeah.
And it just makes you fall in love with this like group of characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you just want like something good to happen to them.
Yes.
And you're like you're cheering them on.
Well, you also start to realize that they could make their own opportunities, right? Like they could make good things happen for themselves if they wanted to, right? What was interesting to me also about that, I know this is a bit of a tangent off of what we were talking about, but no one shops at any of these shops. What the hell? Like,
I don't know. How do they make any money?
We watched these people for 20 episodes. Okay. We got a pawn shop. We got a seamstress, tailor guy, dry cleaning as well. We've got the piano instructor,
the dance studio.
We got the Italian restaurant. We got a Korean restaurant. We got the law firm. We got a bunch of places. I think I might even left out some.
And the Buddhist temple.
The Buddhist temple. Thank you. We don't see maybe one person frequenting one of these shops that isn't one of these people. And we're with the show for like 2 or 3 months. Like we're in the tower for months. No business. How is this? They don't even pretend that you don't even get like a random stranger walking out of one of the shops. You know what I mean?
They had the influencer, I think, at the Italian restaurant at one time, but then they were trying to get a free meal.
Yes. Thank you for calling me out.
The choosing beggars. They were the choosing beggars.
That's true. And they did throw a party in the like front space in front of the tower, but still, those people weren't like going to any of these businesses.
No.
It was so strange.
Yeah. Somehow they just survived.
Like it's so weird.
During
COVID. Right. But just so many different layers. Also, as we move through the show, people's real side starts showing out. Like we start seeing all of these real things, these secret skills that these people have. We also find out that the lawyer, what's his name? The lawyer assistant. He's got a bike named Cheetah. I can't remember what, but he works at the Juparagi law firm. And we find out he's got a bunch of skills as well. And his skills include taking on different personalities it's like he was an actor in a different life, and
Yeah,
he's got
Mr. Nam.
Mr. Nam, and he's got
Mr. Nam.
disguises
Mm-hmm.
and an immense love for Vincenzo that you can't
Yeah.
imagine. He the most heartwarming character on the whole show.
He is such a great character. I loved it when he pretended to be Vincenzo. And he had this little like
The
lighter
lighter.
out. Because you know how Vincenzo has like infinite number of like Zippos that he just
Yes.
like carries around to keep him calm.
And
This
light
guy-
buildings on fire. Yep.
Yeah, multiple times. This Mr. Nam had like the little like lighter that he had in front of Mrs. Choi when she came to drop off the listening device.
Yes.
Damn. He was
Yep.
such a lovely character. I like him.
So good.
Like
So
so
good.
happy. He's like happy. He's very like optimistic about what's going on and like totally in love with Vincenzo.
Yeah.
Like how can you not?
Yeah. It's truly amazing. It's so good. The other thing for me too, the Korean references. I don't know if you will have gotten all of them. And like, this is a thing I'm excited for as I continue to watch more Korean stuff. But this is the first show, I think, really, where they were referencing other things in Korean pop culture.
Yes. Did you get the joke about they made a joke about Itaewon Class?
Yes. About
and Crash Landing. And
I did
both because there was like two characters. The mobster or the low mobster's partner. He looks like the guy from Itaewon Class.
Yes.
And then the pawn shop owner, he was a character
in Crash Landing on You.
In Crash Landing, where he's the North Korean soldier, right?
Right.
So I thought that was like really funny, and
Yes.
that they like put it together.
Yes.
And I thought it was like, this is like, that's where I was like, oh my god, this is like really well written, and like it got you good.
You know what's interesting about that is, if this was any old English show, like if we were watching Game of Thrones or what, actually this is not true because it does get me, because I was watching, I don't know if you've seen Big Mouth. Big Mouth is a better example. Have you watched?
Seen it?
Okay, so Big Mouth is a cartoon done by Nick Kroll. It's spectacular. If you're listening to this, watch it. Watch Big Mouth. But Big Mouth did a reference to Donald Glover's This Is America, where they've got these like cartoon characters doing the This Is America dance. And I remember seeing that and being like really pumped about it. Like I was really excited that they did that. But when you're watching something that is foreign, it's like, I know less than a drop of water about Korean culture and dramas and programming. But when you are watching something like that and you start getting references, it's like, it elevates the experience. Right?
It makes it even more fun, eh?
Yes. So they hit us with the Itaewon Class reference, the Crash Landing on You reference, which I did not get my first time watching it, but I have watched 1.5 episodes of Crash Landing on You now. Surprise for you.
That's a good one.
Yes. So I did notice that guy was in both shows, and I should have known a reference was coming. But they hit us with the Crash Landing on You reference, the Itaewon Class reference. They did a Bong Joon-ho reference. He's the guy who did Parasite. And he did another film called Okja, which, if you haven't seen, it's really weird. I don't remember it being like really good. But it's good. Like, it's fun. Like, Tilda Swinton's in it. It's more a world movie than just like a Korean movie. But they start hitting you with these references and you're getting them and you're like, oh my God, I'm like a part of this. They threw in a BTS reference in there too. Like,
yes,
it's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I'm like still like not like, I don't think I was over it when it was done.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, this was such a fun ride. It's not supposed to be like as I get closer to the end of these shows, I'm like, oh, please don't end. Like, and then you try to pace yourself, but then you also want to be like, oh, I need to know what happened.
It's such a weird experience. Like I feel exactly what you're saying, because, and tell me if you agree. For me, when I start these shows, the first 2-3 episodes are like, they're almost like a chore. Like it's hard to do, right? And it's not because they're bad. There's just something I can't put my finger on it yet, but there's something that makes it difficult, right?
Like it's hard to gain traction.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Rolling.
Perfect term. It's hard to gain the traction. And then like around episode 4 or 5, you're like, oh, I got to watch 3 or 4 of these a day. Like I have to start spending time with this show.
Do you know why?
Why?
It's because they kill the older character.
Might be right. This might be right. I need vengeance. Get vengeance and revenge for killing that man or woman.
I need to see them like avenge his soul.
I think you solved the puzzle. So then you got episodes 4, 5, 6, 7. You're like, okay, I'm in. And then you get to like 10, 12, 15. And you're like, oh my God, am I watching the best thing I've ever watched? And then you're like, oh my God, the best thing I've ever watched is almost over.
Yeah.
And you start to feel this like trepidation and like this real heaviness of like, I want to know how it ends, but I don't want it to end.
Yeah. Like tears are down, like streaming down my face. I'm like worried about the characters now because they're like my friends.
Yes.
And it's such a it's a fun ride. Like this one, like we're so lucky. It's been like 20 episodes.
Yeah.
Like we get 20 like lengthy, fun episodes. Like some of them are a little bit shorter. But yeah, like this was like a long, nice 20 where you get to enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
And like lose like 6 days of sleep.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. Can we discuss how Vincenzo was an Italian mob boss, or is, we could still call him an Italian mob boss, and Chairman Jang believes he's a gangster too. He believes he can do whatever he wants, right? Mm-hmm. And then finds out what an actual mob boss is like. That's the thing that really stood out for me from this show, is like, a very overused phrase now in sports and like mixed martial arts and things like that is there are levels to this game, where it's like you thought you were one thing, but I'm telling you, there are people way above where you think you are, right? And
Chairman Jang got schooled.
How many times?
By the mobster.
How many times? Like the chairman he oversteps a few times, like in ways, like I know I said there were going to be spoilers, but there are certain things that I don't want to say just in case people haven't seen it. But like Vincenzo, and I don't really know how to just say it without saying it, but like the chairman kills some people he just shouldn't have killed.
Yes.
Right? Like, I understand why they did it for the story and things like that, but they do things in this film. Like I said, it's more gruesome than you can imagine it being, right?
Yeah.
They do some shit in this story where you're just like, why? You didn't have to go this far to get to that end result. You know what I mean?
I mean, my thing is like, why did they go so far? Like, what did you think was going to happen to you after?
Right?
Like, this guy wasn't, like, Vincenzo wasn't joking around since day one.
Already. Yeah, he wasn't joking around already. And you're like, this is what I'm going to do next to make him hurt. Really?
Yeah, like episode 3, he blew up your, like, factory.
Such a great point. He's blowing up your whole factory in episode 3. And you're like, well, I'm going to murder this person. Really? Yeah. What do you think he's going to do next?
Oh.
That's such a great point by you. But they do that a lot with the overstepping, and he just checks people. He checks people all the. There's the one time when the chairman oversteps and Vincenzo goes to the house. Remember when he goes to the house and spoiler or not, I don't give a fuck. Spoiler or not, he goes to the house and runs through like 30, 40 security guards, dog. I don't even know if they touched him. I don't believe they touched him. And he ran through the 30. And it's not like him running through the 30 or 40 is like, oh, this is crap action. Like, you know, when you watch a film and someone's just terrorizing all these people who are trying to stop them, and you're like, oh, they're not even trying, right? Mm-hmm. He dismantles with these people so efficiently. Like, they've never seen fighting like this before, and they're trying.
Yeah. But
he just hot knife through butter, man.
Vincenzo.
Sizzling.
Sizzle.
We don't have to get into the ending or endings. We can if you want. We can. We can, and I could take it out if I don't like it. We can. But how delicious. Okay, because you got to remember, we're dealing with people that are doing really horrible things, really horrific things, right? The endings these people get. When you talk mob bosses, right? And you always hear, like, I don't know if you've seen Narcos. You always hear about these mob bosses doing horrific things. Like there are things like, I think in South America, like Colombian mob bosses have like Colombian neckties and things like that, where they strap a bomb around your neck like a collar. And like, if you try to defuse it, it'll just blow up, and all sorts of really terrorizing things. The finish moves he's got for Chairman Jang are not just him, but the lawyers. The way he takes these people out, man.
Whew.
Newsflash, Vincenzo wins. Big surprise, right? Like, no spoiler there. But the way he takes these people out.
I didn't think that it was possible, but he did. And I'm glad he did. These people, they deserved it.
Doesn't that feel weird to say?
Yeah.
I agree with you, but doesn't it feel weird to say it? Like, you watch these people do these horrendous things for 20 episodes, and then the catharsis you feel about how they decide to end them. Like Miss Choi.
I think she had, her and like Chairman Jang had like the two worst, I think.
Yes. And they should have.
Yeah. She was really bad.
But like, they're so gruesome that you're like, who came up with this? How'd you guys come up with these finishing moves? Like, they're perfect. But how'd you come up with it? Who should the police be looking at right now? Because to come up with those ideas, it's like, those people definitely harmed some animals, like in their youth. Like, you don't just come up with these ideas, man.
Yeah.
They're outrageous.
Yeah, they're pretty well written.
Yes.
Is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Well written.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well written.
I don't know. I don't know if I feel bad for like watching them suffer.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I know it's like a show.
Yes.
But and they were like, they wrote them really bad so that I would feel this in this moment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just feeling what they want me to feel.
It's very true. It's very true. It's almost like, so Chappelle, and I assume other comedians, Chappelle talks about how he can come up with the end of the joke first. He can come up with the punchline first and then write the joke afterwards, right? And it's almost like they had these punishments for these people first. They're like, this is what I want to do to the villains of our show. and they reverse engineer and go, well, how bad do they have to be to make people comfortable with these endings, right? And they're like, well, they got to be really bad if we're going to do this to them at the end. So they made them really bad, and then they did that to them at the end.
Yes, they did.
Catharsis. It really is a cathartic. It's a cathartic watch once you get down to the end of it, and you're like, oh,
yep.
Yeah, I guess this is how this should end.
Yeah, and it's okay to enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. So the romance, okay? Another big thing with Korean dramas, you get that silent male lead that I talked about, right? And you've got the lady whom we know this guy should be with. We got that in the Itaewon class. We get it. I assume it plays out the same way in Crash Landing on You. We get it here. We know these people should be together, and they won't get together, usually because of the dude. But I think I saw in this show, in the middle of this show, I think they give us the most romantic thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Okay?
Tell me more.
And spoiler, if you haven't seen it, skip this piece, whatever. I don't know how you're still here if you're worried about the spoilers, but they go to the museum.
Oh, the museum.
They go to the art gallery under the guise of a different couple. They sneak in. And this is another thing where they're playing characters the whole show, right? These people get to play so many different characters. That's part of the thing I think makes it great. But they go under the guise of being this couple. And as they're going through the art gallery and as they're going through this experience, actually there's two pieces of romance because the actual couple goes to Gemga Plaza, right? Do you remember this? Right.
Yeah.
These two white people go to Gemga Plaza. Maybe I'll do that one first. So these two white people think they're going to the art gallery for an experience, and they end up instead at Gemga Plaza. And the people, the family at Gemga Plaza, take them through an experience in Korea that they could never have imagined they would have gotten, right? Like,
that is correct.
If someone told you, I'm going to give you the most authentic experience anywhere, right? You're going on a trip, I'm going to show you the real stuff, right? This is what you would have dreamed. You probably couldn't even have dreamed it, right?
You go to Gemga Plaza.
Yeah. But they get this wonderful experience at Gemga Plaza. Meanwhile, Vincenzo and Miss Hong are at the gallery, and they're getting what the two white people thought they were going to get, right? And what they are going to get is an engagement party, essentially, right? And they end up having to kiss, the two of them.
Yeah.
They've obviously been flirting a little bit throughout the whole show. They've been doing their thing, but they haven't crossed any lines. And these two kiss. And the woman that is guiding them through the gallery, I think she might have started crying. I can't remember, but like she was overcome with emotion watching these two people kiss. And she's thinking these two people are just getting engaged. What we know is we've just watched their first kiss. And it is more romantic than you can, at least myself, I'll speak for myself. It's more romantic than you can fathom.
Yeah.
Did you have the same feeling, or am I just like, am I wrapped up in their courtship? Like what?
I think it was like such a slow build up to that moment.
Yes.
And then like a lot happened in that one episode.
Yes.
At the museum, at the art gallery. And then you're just so happy that it happened for them. And then they didn't end up really being together until the end.
Yeah. We were waiting on it. And then they finally give it to us. And like I said, the romance is romancier. It's a different level, right? Yeah.
And I wonder if it's because like in like Korean drama, it doesn't happen a lot versus in like other like American or Canadian TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
So like you get very like small glimpses of it, and then it like builds you up to that moment, and then you're like, whoa, it is really romantic.
Yeah. Well, how often?
Because you're like desensitized to it when it happens frequently, I guess. Is that what it's called? Like you're like desensitized. So I think like that's the one fresh thing about Korean dramas. It's like it's not really just about the romance. Even though I think Crash Landing is a little bit more about the romance.
Yeah, I can feel
like,
that already. Yeah.
But like Itaewon Class, it's like a revenge story, right?
Yes, and romance intertwined throughout it.
Yeah, it's like a subplot. And like same thing with Vincenzo. It's like it's about getting the gold and like keeping these people safe and then getting revenge.
Yeah.
And like the romance is like not really an afterthought. Like they weave it in pretty nice because like they have so many moments together where they're like drinking alcohol together, like drinking wine, drinking like the makgeolli that like it was like a nice moment where like he shared with her because he also shared that moment with her dad.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like pretty neat and like it's nice.
And the moments with his mom.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm curious, if you were to ballpark it, okay, how many individual times did you cry while watching Vincenzo? 20 episodes, okay? How many times would you say you cried watching this show? I'm going to guess at least 7 times you cried.
I cried when her dad died, like Mrs. Hong's dad died. Like that was pretty sad. Like I mean, I know it had to be done, but you know, I was still sad.
Yeah.
The whole thing with his mom was like pretty sad. Like
the
because they had like a few moments like down like near the end of the show too, right? Where he was with her like in the wheelchair. They took her for her birthday.
Yep.
Like that was like very sad. Man. Maybe 7 is a pretty good ballpark.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. So normal non-robots like me, normal people will find a lot of moments where you'll have a good cry during this show. Like some really like some points where I was like, oh my God, this is sad. But like not sad where you're like depressed, sad like a normal release of emotions should be happening now. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure that's what you felt. You're like, oh, this is a time where people cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes Ernest would look over and be like, are you serious?
So you live with a robot, huh? Just a robot like me? Yeah.
Yeah. Or like I would tell my dad, I'm like, oh, it was so good. It made me cry. You know what my dad would say to me? He'd be like, get it together. You got to finish the show.
Well, I did not cry myself, but I have no problem with you or anyone else crying. I would not tell someone to get over it myself. I see why people are breaking down during this show because there's lots of moments for that. But like, again, this isn't a cry fest. This is like everything. Violence, crying, hilarious, like really, really funny. Like I did, you know how many times I cried? I did cry at least 3 or 4 times from laughing.
Those are good cries too.
At least. Yeah, those are my favorite cries. Crying from laughing is that's my shit right there. I love to bust up from some laughing. And there's so much of that in this show too.
So good.
Yeah. And thank you very much for joining us here on this first episode of this 2-part Korean drama spectacular. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you come back for next week's episode where we get into more of it. But as always, please share, like, subscribe, rate, review, comment wherever you get the show. We'll see you in a week. Peace.